They thought I was the poor relative, the one they seated near the kitchen, the one nobody bothered to introduce. For 3 years, my son's fiancée called me the help behind my back, and my own son let her. What none of them knew was that the house they were standing in, the company that paid for the wedding they were planning, and the trust fund they were already spending in their heads, all of it had one signature on it. Mine. My name is Margaret Hale. I'm 67 years old. And this is the story of the night I let an entire family bury me at a dinner table, right up until the moment I stood up. Let me take you back, because to understand the ending you have to understand how quiet I had learned to be. My husband, Charles, and I built our company from a single rented unit on the wrong side of Hartwell. Industrial valves. It is not glamorous. Nobody makes a movie about industrial valves, and nobody asks you about them at parties. But there is not a refinery, a water system, or a hospital boiler in 3 states that does not run on something we manufactured. Charles handled the engineering. He could listen to a pump and tell you which seal was about to fail. I handled everything else. The books, the contracts, the banks, the lawyers, the payroll for 41 people who depended on us getting it right every single Friday. People who met us at functions always assumed Charles was the company and I was the wife who came along. They would shake his hand and ask him about the business, and they would turn to me and ask where I'd bought my dress. Charles used to laugh about it on the drive home. They have it exactly backwards, he'd say. You're the one who knows where the bodies are buried. He meant the money. He always meant the money. He trusted me with all of it completely for 31 years. When he passed 4 years ago, a heart attack fast in the garden he loved, people assumed the business would be sold, or that it would quietly fall apart without him. The phone calls came within the week. Competitors circling. Brokers smelling a widow who didn't know what she was sitting on. One man, a supplier Charles had never liked, actually said to me at the funeral reception, "Whenever you're ready to let it go, Margaret, you call me. Don't let it stress you. A woman shouldn't have to carry all that." He patted my hand when he said it. I smiled and thanked him for coming. I did not sell, because the truth, which I had never advertised, was that I had been running the financial spine of that company for 3 decades. I knew where every dollar was. I knew which contracts were worth keeping and which clients paid late and lied about why. So I did not panic and I did not sell. I restructured. I took the company private under a holding entity called Hartwell Industrial Group, and I became its sole owner and chairman. I just never told my family. Not because I was hiding it exactly. At first it was simply that grief makes you private, and I did not want to discuss money in the same months I was learning to sleep in a bed that was suddenly too large. But the longer I stayed quiet, the more I learned. And what I learned I could not unlearn. I learned how my son treated me when he believed there was nothing left to inherit. Brandon is my only child. He is 38. Charles and I gave him everything, the good schools, the cars, the tuition we paid in full so he would start his adult life without a cent of debt. We told ourselves we were giving him freedom. I have wondered since whether we were just teaching him that money arrives on its own, the way weather does, and that you need not be grateful to the sky for rain. Somewhere along the way, Brandon decided that the gifts had been the measurement of our love, and that once the gifts slowed, the love must have slowed with them. After his father died, the calls became shorter. Then they became rare. Then they came only when he needed something. A loan just to bridge a gap. A co-signature. Favor. I gave at first because I was lonely and a call from my son was a call from my son, even when it had a number attached to it. And then he met Vanessa. I want to be fair to her, because bitterness makes a story less true, not more. Vanessa is intelligent. She is poised. She has the kind of confidence that fills a room before she has said a single word. But she had decided, somewhere in the first month of dating my son, that I was a problem to be managed. An old woman in a small condo, driving an 8-year-old sedan, wearing the same gray wool coat to every occasion. To Vanessa, I was evidence of where Brandon had come from. And she intended to make sure everyone knew he had risen above it. The first time I heard the word, I was not supposed to hear it. It was Brandon's birthday dinner, about 18 months ago. I had arrived early the way I always do because Charles taught me that being early is a form of respect. I was in the hallway outside the private dining room, taking off my coat, when I heard Vanessa's voice through the door. "Just seat her somewhere out of the way," she said. "She gets confused with the wine list anyway. Honestly, Brand, she's basically the help that raised you. We don't need her at the center of everything." The help. I stood in that hallway holding a wrapped gift I had spent 2 hours choosing. A first edition book on bridge engineering, because Brandon had loved bridges as a boy, before he loved other things. And I waited. I waited for my son's voice. I waited for him to say something. Anything. To say, "That's my mother." To say, "She built the life that paid for the school where half the people coming tonight first met me." He laughed. "That is what my son did." He laughed and he said, "Be nice. Be nice." As if she had teased him about his haircut. As if the help was a charming little joke and not a blade slipped quietly between two ribs. I went in. I smiled. I gave Brandon the book. He thanked me without really looking at it and set it on an empty chair, where I found it again at the end of the night, forgotten when I gathered my coat to leave. I sat where Vanessa's hand had gestured, near the end of the table, near the swinging kitchen door, where the waiters brushed the back of my chair every time they passed. And I said nothing, because I had learned over a long life that the most valuable thing you can do when people show you who they are is to believe them quietly, and to start paying attention. So I paid attention. For 18 months I watched. And I want to tell you about a few of the things I saw because they matter to how this ends. The first was a Sunday phone call, perhaps a month after the birthday. Brandon called, and for a moment my heart lifted because he so rarely called. He asked how I was. He let me talk for almost a full minute. And then he arrived at the reason. He and Vanessa had found the perfect place, but they needed help with the deposit, and he knew, of course, that money was tight for me, but maybe there was something I could do? I told him gently that I was getting by but couldn't spare much these days. There was a pause on the line. A cooling. Right, he said. No, of course. Forget I asked. And the call ended 2 minutes later. I sat with the phone in my hand for a long time after, and I understood that I had just been tested for my usefulness and found wanting. The second was a Thanksgiving. Vanessa hosted, which meant Vanessa performed. She had a way of asking about my life that was really a way of displaying my life to the table. And how are you managing, Margaret? All alone in that little condo. It must be so hard. Do you find the stairs difficult? The condo has no stairs. But the table murmured its sympathy, and Brandon looked at his plate, and Vanessa glowed with the warmth of her own compassion. Later in the kitchen I heard her tell her sister, honestly, we'll probably have to move her into a home in a few years. Brand's worried about the cost. They had me in a home in their minds before I had so much as caught a cold. The third thing I saw was not about them. It was about Sofia. Sofia is 26. I met her because she works part-time at the pharmacy near my condo, and one rainy afternoon, when I had dropped my prescription bag and the contents had scattered across the wet pavement, she came out from behind the counter, knelt down in the rain in her work apron, and gathered every bottle without my asking. Then she walked me to my car under her own umbrella, and made sure I was steady before she let go of my arm. She did not know who I was. She did not know I had money. She knew only that an older woman was struggling in the rain, and that was reason enough. We became, over those 18 months, something I had not expected to find again at my age, friends. She drove me to a doctor's appointment when my car was in the shop, and refused gas money. She sat with me the first Christmas after Charles died, because I had mentioned lightly that I would be spending it alone, and she could not bear the thought of it, even though she had her own family to get to. She asked me about Charles, about the company, though she had no idea how large it was. I let her think it had been a modest little business, because I wanted for once to be liked for nothing at all. She asked me about my life not because she wanted anything from it, but because she is the kind of person who is genuinely interested in people. Do you know how rare that is? To be asked a question by someone who actually wants the answer? So that was the shape of my world those 18 months. A son who called only when he needed money. A future daughter-in-law who had already chosen my nursing home. And a girl from the pharmacy who knelt in the rain for a stranger. And while all of this was happening, I noticed the other things too. The practical things. I noticed that Brandon had taken a loan against a future he assumed was coming. I noticed the engagement ring Vanessa wore so proudly was financed, not bought. I know what a finance stone looks like because I have signed off on enough of them in my life to know the difference. I noticed the deposits going down on a wedding venue that cost more than the entire condo they believed was the sum total of my worth. They were spending money they did not have, against an inheritance they had not seen, secured by their absolute certainty that when I was gone, all of it would flow, naturally, to Brandon. Here is the part they never thought to check. 6 months after Charles died, long before any of this contempt had fully shown itself, but after I had already started to feel its first cold drafts, I rewrote my entire estate. Every share of the holding company, the 2 commercial properties including, as it happens, a certain wood-paneled events venue on the good side of town, the investment accounts that had grown quietly for 3 decades while everyone assumed I was just Charles's wife. I moved all of it into a trust. And I named a successor, though at the time I had not yet decided who that successor would be. I left that decision open. I told myself I would know the right person when I saw them. I saw them kneel in the rain outside a pharmacy. But I am getting ahead of myself. Because the night this all came to a head was not a quiet one. It was the engagement party. And they had, once again, seated me near the kitchen. The party was at the Whitfield Club. Vanessa's choice, naturally, old wood paneling, older money, the kind of place that exists so that people can be seen being there. There were perhaps 80 guests. Vanessa's family, Brandon's friends, and a scattering of business contacts whose names I recognized far better than they would have liked, because some of them had sat across negotiating tables from me, in rooms they did not know I owned, and lost. I arrived in my gray coat, the one Charles bought me 20 years ago, the one Vanessa loved to glance at and then glance away from as though it pained her. I was placed at table 9, near the kitchen, between an empty chair and a man who spent the entire first course speaking exclusively to the woman on his other side. Vanessa floated past once, rested her hand on my shoulder, and said, loud enough for the neighboring tables, "Margaret, you look so comfortable back here. Can we get you anything? A nice cup of tea?" The people at table 8 chuckled softly. The implication landed exactly as designed. The old woman, tucked away, harmless, slightly pitiable, a piece of the past that the happy couple had been gracious enough to invite. I sipped my water and I waited. I had learned to wait. Then the toasts began. Brandon stood first. He looked wonderful, I will give him that. My son has always looked wonderful. He thanked Vanessa's parents, the family I always wished I'd had, he said, and the words went into me like cold water. And he did not look at me when he said them. He thanked his friends. And then he told a long, smooth story about how he had built himself up from nothing. How nobody ever handed me anything. How everything he had earned through grit and vision and late nights. 80 people raised their glasses to a self-made man. A self-made man whose every single step up the ladder had been paid for, in cash, by the woman sitting near the kitchen door in a 20-year-old coat. I did not flinch. I had heard him rehearse versions of this myth before. But I confess that something tightened in my chest, listening to my son erase his father and me from his own story in front of 80 people, as casually as wiping a smudge off a glass. And then Vanessa stood. And she made her toast. And at the very end of it, she did something I believe she will replay in her mind for the rest of her life. She lifted her glass. She smiled at the whole room, that radiant practiced smile. And she said, "And a special thank you to Brandon's mother, Margaret, who came all the way out here tonight. We know it isn't easy for her. And we are just so grateful she could be part of our big day." She tilted her head, that sympathetic little tilt I had watched her perform 100 times. "Bran and I have already talked about it, and we want you all to know we're going to make sure she's taken care of once we're settled. Because family takes care of family. Even the parts of it that need a little extra help." The room made that warm sound. That collective murmur of "how lovely." Somebody at the next table actually said "ah" out loud. Brandon beamed at her with naked adoration. And 80 faces turned, gently, pityingly, toward the old woman by the kitchen. I sat there for a moment. I let it settle over the entire room. I let Vanessa savor it, the applause of her own generosity. And then I stood up. I was not loud. I have never in my entire life needed to be loud. I rose from my chair in my gray coat, and I picked up my own glass and I said in a clear and pleasant voice, "Thank you, Vanessa. That was very thoughtful. I'd like to say a few words of my own if I may." Brandon's smile flickered. In 38 years, he had never once heard me ask a room for its attention. Vanessa's smile stayed fixed in place, but something behind her eyes went very still, the way a small animal goes still when a shadow passes overhead. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," I said. "And I want to thank the Whitfield Club for hosting us. It really is a beautiful venue." I let my gaze travel slowly around the paneled walls, as though admiring them for the first time. I should know it well. The building is owned by a holding company called Hartwell Industrial Group. I paused just for a breath. I am the chairman of Hartwell Industrial Group. The warm sound in the room changed pitch. It is a very particular sound, a room recalculating. "Some of you here tonight already know that name," I went on, and I let my eyes rest, for just a moment, on 3 men near the front who had gone quite pale. "A few of you have done business with us. One of you, I believe, is currently in the middle of negotiating a supply contract with my company. Gerald, hello. We'll speak on Monday." A nervous, scattered laugh. "For those of you who don't know the name, Hartwell makes industrial valves. My late husband and I started the company 35 years ago in a single rented unit. When he passed, I did not sell it, as a great many people assumed I would. I took it private. I own it. All of it. Every share. I had not raised my voice. That is the thing about a silent room. You never need to. My son told you tonight that nobody ever handed him anything," I said. "And I want to be precise about that because precision is the thing I have always been good at, the thing everyone always assumed I wasn't, while they were asking me where I'd bought my dress." Brandon's school fees, from the age of 11 through university, came to a little over $400,000. His first car. His second car. The deposit on his first apartment. The business loan we quietly forgave when his first venture failed. I have every figure because keeping the figures is what I do. It is what I have always done, even while I was being seated by the kitchen, where I might get confused by the wine list. Vanessa had not moved. Her glass was still half raised, forgotten in her hand. "Vanessa," I said, and I turned to her, and I kept my voice gentle, which I think frightened her far more than shouting would have. "You have called me the help for a year and a half. You believed I never knew. I knew. I have known since Brandon's birthday, when I stood in the hallway and heard you, and heard my son laugh. You have told people I am a burden to be managed, an embarrassment to be tucked away near the kitchen. And tonight, in front of all of these people, you stood up and you offered, so very generously, to take care of me once you are settled." I set my glass down on the white tablecloth. "I actually came here tonight to give you both my blessing and a gift." The gift was going to be the deposit on a house. A real one. Paid in full, no loan, no co-signature. I watched that number land behind my son's eyes. But I have changed my mind. Because a gift like that should go to someone who understands what it is worth. And the two of you have never once, in all the time I have watched you, understood what anything is worth. Only what it costs. I reached for my gray coat on the back of my chair. The wedding you are planning is built on money you do not have, borrowed against an inheritance that does not exist. 6 months after your father died, Brandon, I rewrote my entire estate. Every share. Every property. All of it sits in a trust now. And the person I have named to inherit it is not a guest of honor here tonight. I let the silence stretch. She has been serving the drinks all evening. 80 heads turned as one toward the bar. Sofia stood frozen behind it, a cocktail shaker in her hand, her eyes enormous. She had taken the bartending shift that night because the Whitfield pays well for events and she works 2 jobs and never says no to good money. She had no idea until that exact moment who any of these people were to me, or what I was about to say. I had not told her. I had not told anyone. Sofia doesn't know this yet either, I said, watching her face. But she will on Monday when she sits down with my lawyers. She will not be getting all of it. I am leaving a great deal to the people who actually built this company at my side for 30 years, and a great deal more to a foundation in my husband's name. But she will be getting enough that she will never again have to take a second job to pay for somebody else's party. Enough that the next time a stranger drops their prescriptions in the rain, Sofia can kneel down and help them simply because it is who she is, and never once have to wonder how she'll cover her own rent that month. I put on my gray coat. The same gray coat Vanessa had mocked with her eyes for a year and a half. The coat I wear because the man I loved bought it for me, and because I have never in 20 years found a reason good enough to replace it. Brandon, I said at the door. The whole room was watching. You are my son and I love you. That has never once been the question. The question was always whether you loved me, or whether you loved what you believed I would one day leave you. Tonight, in front of 80 people, you answered it. So did the woman you are going to marry. I looked at Vanessa one last time. She had finally lowered her glass. Enjoy the party. The bar tab, by the way, is on the venue. And the venue, as it turns out, is on me. Consider it my last gift to you both. And I walked out in my gray coat into the cold night air. I got into my 8-year-old sedan, and I sat for a moment with my hands on the wheel, and I found that I was not shaking. For the first time in 4 years, the weight of pretending lifted clean off my chest, and I could breathe all the way to the bottom of my lungs. Here is what happened after. The wedding did not happen. Not in the form they had planned. Without an inheritance to borrow against. The financing came apart within a few weeks. The venue deposit was forfeited. The vendors began calling for money that wasn't there. Vanessa, I am told, ended the engagement quietly about 2 months later, once it became unmistakably clear that the man she thought she was marrying was, in fact, the poor relative all along. Brandon called me eventually. Not the next day, pride takes longer than a day. But about 3 months on, he called. And for the first time in years, it was not about money because we had both finally, painfully, accepted that there was none coming to him. We talked for almost an hour. It was awkward and it was honest and it was many years overdue. He asked me near the end why I had done it that way, in front of everyone. And I told him the truth, that I had given him 1,000 quiet chances, across 1,000 short phone calls, and he had not taken a single one. That sometimes the only way to wake a person is to let them feel, all at once, the full weight of what they have been treating carelessly. We are slowly building something now that might one day become a real relationship between 2 adults, rather than a transaction between a benefactor and a beneficiary. I don't know yet whether we will get all the way there. But the conversations are real now, in a way they have not been since his father died. And that is worth more to me than the company ever was. Sofia cried in my lawyer's office. Then she tried to refuse the whole thing. Actually pushed the papers back across the table and told me she couldn't possibly, that she hadn't earned it, that I must have family who needed it more. And that is the precise moment I knew, beyond any shred of doubt, that I had chosen correctly. The people who truly deserve it are always every time the ones who try to give it back. I still wear the gray coat. I want to leave you with the one thing I have thought about most in the quiet months since that night. People say that money reveals character. They have it backwards. Money hides character. Anyone on earth can be gracious to the person they believe controls the inheritance. The real test, the only test that has ever told me the truth about a human being, is how they treat the person they have decided has nothing left to give them. For a year and a half, my family was certain I had nothing. And in their certainty, they showed me absolutely everything. I never had to raise my voice. I only had to wait and watch and let them write their own ending. Remember that, the next time the world decides you are small enough to ignore. The quietest person at the table is very often the one who owns the table. My name is Margaret Hale. They thought I was the help. I let them believe it. And then when it mattered most, I stood up. If this story meant something to you, stay a while. There are more like it here, stories about the people the world is so quick to underestimate, and the calm, careful, patient way the scales finally tip back into balance. No shouting. No cruelty. Just the truth, arriving at exactly the moment it is least convenient for the people who have earned it. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.